Sometimes in life, you sit down to watch an anime and you just feel like this show's got the sauce. It's got that special something that it's built just a little bit different from everything else around it. You feel that level of passion, that level of creativity, that desire to bring a story to the audience that can only be brought by the creative team making it. This doesn't happen all the time. And in our current anime climate where there's a million shows a minute, it feels like it's getting rarer and rarer. But sometimes we are treated to a sign of affection. A genuinely beautiful shoujo romance series from the first half of 2024. This series kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of people. Well, sort of. To my understanding, this is a very popular manga series, to the point where when the first episode ended when I saw the world premiere at Anime NYC, the credits came to the sound of what felt like 1,000 screaming fangirls about to cause the glass pavilion in the Jacob Javits Center in New York City to just shatter. So this series had a very strong following, but as I've brought up before, it's very hard for anything that isn't a big shonen epic or a generic isekai that smart people try to avoid to get a ton of attention. So to see that this series developed a pretty strong following as its ran progressed, to the point where a lot of people are excited to see where things go from here, I think is a really good sign. And I think right now we should give this series its due and talk about it. Everything it does right, why it's important it does things as right as it does, and what that means for the group of people who feel like this series represents them. And we're just going to get right on into it. First up, let's start with the premise, which is beautifully surmised in the first episode. So we're just going to talk about that. Now, this show opens with a beautiful winter background with some incredible background score. By the way, this show looks fucking gorgeous and it sounds incredible. Let's just get that out of the way right now. When I said that most shoujos are beautiful, this is the standard I choose to hold these things to. I know we're all like, oh god, big shonen hype moment. Let's talk about it endlessly on Twitter. Nah, now that I'm an old man, all I want is pretty city landscapes and nice music. Put me into the retirement facility already. But yeah, no. So episode 1 opens with our main character, Yuki. And what's very important about Yuki in this introduction scene is that all this introductory scene does is establish that she is a normal, down-to-earth 19-year-old college girl. And the reason this is important is because the series needs you to think of her as a person first. So that's what they do. All you know about her in her introductory monologue is she got a nice sale at a store she likes. She likes following social media. She enjoys college life. These are very normal person things that I think everyone can relate to. And the reason it's so important to set that up right away is so when the juxtaposition of what is really going on here happens, it feels that much stronger. And that is that Yuki is deaf. Hence the show title, Sign of Affection. Get it? It's because signing, because sign language. Anyways, so we learn that Yuki is deaf through a very normal thing that I imagine a lot of deaf people go through every day. A very simple interaction of a man just asking for directions, and she is having trouble getting across to him that she can't hear and really has trouble being able to communicate because of that. This guy is never mean. There is never any sadness or anxiety to the situation. It's just normal, everyday life. That is such an important thing to come across. We've all seen movies and TV shows where there's like the token deaf person or the token blind person or the token person in a wheelchair, and all their personality amounts to is their disability. There's never a lot of emphasis put into who they are as people. There are exceptions, of course, but I think many of us, especially in childhood, were exposed to this idea that a person with a disability is unfortunately just defined by their disability. So a series like this that takes the time to set up that Yuki is not defined by being deaf, She is her own person with thoughts and feelings and hopes and dreams. And by making sure to always establish that that's who she is first, it really makes her feel like a person, and that what she goes through from being deaf is just a part of her life, but not her whole life. And I know a lot of people who found that to be the most special aspect of this show for them. But I'm really rambling about this one thing, but it's important. Because next, we then meet our love interest in this shoujo romance, and that is Itsumi, who very quickly surmises the situation, helps the guy, begins committing with Yuki, and immediately takes an interest in her. I mean, who wouldn't? Fucking look at this girl. She is fucking gorgeous. Shoujo women are hot. I don't care what anyone says. But yeah, and from there, the show is just about their developing relationship. They start dating very quickly. They start doing things like kissing and get kind of hot. They don't have sex or anything, but there's some scenes in this where if you thought that sexiness in anime and movies was gone, you will be reminded it does not take much to get you into the moment. I'm making this sound way dirtier than it is. It's very cute. It's very loving, but the relationship develops at just this very normal pace. And that idea that you can just get through all those like forced, like romantic rom-com tropes onto the actual story and plot, I think is really what makes this series feel unique. And what's also important is that they're always showing how Yuki has to communicate with people and how that feels very unique. The idea that every conversation can involve things ranging from just texting to sign language to lip reading, which is not simply as easy as someone just talking like it is in a lot of movies. A lot of her gestures, a lot of the way she moves, the little sort of noises she makes, to the point where her narration almost feels secondary to the visual language. So much of anime gets defined by meaningless dialogue that just exists to lazily explain a story to you. But here, that because you can't have her talk, because she can't just say how she feels to another person, you always are following along and you're always engaged in what's happening. That's so hard to do nowadays, but this show does it flawlessly. It's so well done and so well paced. You really feel the team who made this show really wanted to treat this subject matter with the respect it deserves, and also still wanting to make a show that is just fun and likable. The show is super funny, a lot of great comedy, a lot of great character moments. The show isn't afraid to have comedy because she's deaf. Yeah, there's funny, awkward moments just caused by the fact she doesn't know what people are saying or what people are doing. But the show always makes sure to go back to its ultimate core, and that is the love growing between these two people. You really feel that for as kind of weird as Itsumi is, sometimes it can be a little much, that he's kind of weird and awkward. Honestly, came off as almost a little like on the spectrum at times, which might be intentional, might not. But you always feel like, even though he can be a little weird and awkward, you feel that sense that he cares about her, that he likes spending time with her, and that she likes spending time with him, and how they both kind of like give each other something they feel like they need in life. Rather from her, it's this feeling of maybe there's a bigger world out there you can go explore. Or for him, it feels like he's kind of looking for, I won't get into it because it's into some interesting spoilers, but kind of feels like he's looking for someone more like her, someone a bit more down to earth, someone a bit more like relatable, easier to get along with. But yeah, just a really strong romance and really great relationship. If we were to talk about criticisms, because I gotta be fair and talk about criticisms, first and foremost, the lips in this show, as many people have pointed out, can look a little weird and awkward and strange. I assume it was done this way more so that way like lip reading can feel a bit more realistic. I know that it used to be a big thing, shoujo characters had these more defined lips, but there's a reason it's not brought to animation much. A lot of times it does look pretty weird. Other issues, I think there's a few too many side characters, and while their stories I think never really hijack the show like they do in some other shoujos I've seen, I do kind of feel like we could have cut back a little bit of the subplots, especially the generic love triangle that grows that I never really could take seriously. The one involving her childhood friend, not his. I liked his a lot more. Anyways, we should now talk about the show's, let's say, biggest criticism. At least I heard a lot of people talking about this at first. And that is the general sort of problem of, does it come off that she feels that Itsumi is her only way to get out in the world, that she is reliant that he will be able to take her out of her shell and guide her into the greater world around him. A lot of people when this show started and were getting that impression felt that this is a negative way to portray deaf people, as showing that they are reliant on a abled person to help them with these things, or just in general the trope of a woman feeling like she needs a man to be able to expand her world. I will say that I can understand that interpretation, and I do think there is some level of validity to it. However, my counterpoint would be that A, I feel the show does a good job that while this is an issue she has that she needs to learn to get over, I do feel like it does a good job of showing that Itsumi doesn't feel like he needs to shelter her or take care of her or be the one to guide her through the world. It always feels like he is the one trying to like push her to realize she's got it in her to do this. And he's always very supportive of her attempts at expanding her own world and getting out and doing things, even if it doesn't involve him. I think they did do a very good job with this. The other just sort of point I'll make, and this is very personal, is that I do know people who have issues with kind of getting out in the world or breaking daily routine or just kind of like wanting to really experience things, even if they say they want to. I don't know anyone personally who is deaf. However, I do know people who get into that kind of rut. And a lot of times I feel like they do need someone to kind of light that fire under their butt to get them going. And that was my personal interpretation of what Itsumi is trying to do to Yuki. I mean, I would like to light that butt if you know what I mean. But no, all in all, I think this is a very well done show. A lot of great characters, great production. Just all in all, one of the big highlights of the first half of the year for me, and something I expect to still be a series I'm thinking about as we get in more into the second half of the year. But what did you think of this series? In the comments section below, give me your thoughts on A Sign of Affection. What kind of shoujo do you like? Did you have a little issue with the relationship? Because again, I can totally understand that interpretation. But give me your thoughts on that below. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe, because next week we are leaving the world of shoujo and we're going to talk about that anime.